We are live and it's 1 p.m. We are Friday, November 24th, and this is Fabe Fridays. Last week, last week, I did my first live show here on Instagram Live. It was very interesting because there was like just a couple of people like watching, but it was like, okay, maybe I should do that. And I remember seeing like YouTubers starting with a very, very low um, viewership, and they were like, "Oh, wow, this is going to be interesting." So I'm like, "Okay, we're going to do it as long as I can handle it, and if people are starting to pop up and partake with me. It's going to be interesting, and maybe we can both learn some things about our industry, about uh, what we're doing collectively. All right. So the first thing I wanted to say is to make a little presentation. So why this show is called Fave Fridays. It's called Fave Fridays because a lot of people don't know that, but in real life, my family, my close friends, they call me Fabe. They don't call me Fab. They don't call me anything else. They call me Fabe. Shout out to the first person who got the idea, who is Lisbeth Kemun, my first wife. And she, when we were like very young, and she was like, "Oh, Fabrice is like, it's not really right. It's too long, and I need something. So it's gonna be Fabe." And I was like, "Okay, I like that, and I like it actually better than my uh, real name, Fabrice. I know a lot of Americans say, "Oh, this is a very cool name. You should be proud of it." But like growing up, there were a lot of Fabrice where I grew up, so it was like not that special, and I never liked it. So it's just like, um, yeah, no. So that's Fabe, and so I would figure out that if I was going to do a live show and it was just going to be me, it should be something like intimate, like you're now part of my extended family. And like fun fact is, when I was working for Humanoids, the owner of the company's name is Fabrice, and so when he hired me, it was like, okay, obviously we're gonna avoid confusion. So if you have another name, because you can't have the same name as I have. I'm the boss. And I say, okay, well then you guys can call me Fabe because that's how my family and my friends call me. So he said, okay, so you'll be Fabe and I'll be Fabrice. And I'll say, okay, fine by me. But it's always nice because like every time I see someone that I interacted with in my humanoids days, they were like, "How Fabe, how are you?" And like it never gets old when Mark Wade said, "Hey, this is Fabe." Shout out to Mark Wade. Um, or Rob Levin calls me Fabe too. So this is cool. So we're gonna try to do this as often as I can. I said, like, obviously it will be difficult to do it when I have a show. Like next week, for example, I'll be in LA, so it's going to be harder for me. But when I am at home, it's always better, and I'm in my environment. I control everything. So we're going to do the show when I'm at home, which is going to be quite a lot until February. So we'll talk about shows a little later in the show. All right. So how it's going to work? I have a few stories of the week. Then I'm going to talk about an event that I'm doing this weekend. And then I'm going to talk about the upcoming event that I have next week and a preview of what's coming up for me of Square Comics in the next few weeks or months. And then if you stick to the end, there will be an art sale with a discount on my art. And there will be actually another surprise, which is a discount code on the Fair Square Comics web store, but you will have to wait until the very end to get it. Yeah, I'm cruel. That's who I am. Um, so yeah. Um, all right. So number one, stories of the week. There has been a number of announcements in the comic book world this week. Skybound, Vault, and another shout out to Arun Singh, who was promoted vice president at Skybound. He's a very good guy. I've known him for a long time. And these announcements were like, well, 100,000 copies here, 100,000 copies there, 200,000 copies for Transformers as it's announced. And I want to kind of like take a step back and think about it for a minute. Like, why these numbers don't matter. And I think they don't. Like, people don't realize that it's just an announcement, but nobody's actually talking about the real fact, the real important thing in comics right now. It's profitability. And so you could sell 200,000 copies and lose money. And no company wants to lose money. And I know, as an entrepreneur and as a small business owner and as a small publisher through Fair Square Comics, I don't care about numbers. Like, numbers are not that important. Like, when you are going out with your books, what's important to you? That you can keep doing what you're doing. That means making more books and publish more stories. And if you publish more stories, numbers don't really matter. Profitability matters. And which leads me to another topic, which is, how many of you know how much a publisher or a creator makes out of a comic? It's actually very little. Like, it's something that I love to talk at conventions, and people are usually like opening big eyes when they hear the actual numbers. But the food chain in our comic book industry is completely reversed, and the entity that earns the most out of a comic book cover price is the distributor. Not to keep it for themselves, because they are then giving back a discount to the retailer. So actually, the retailer and the distributor combined make the most of the price of a book. So at the end of the day, what's left for us as creators and publishers? Less than 8%. Less than 8%, that's an average. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less. But as an average, I would say like 8% is a kind of accurate number of what's left for publisher and artists, creators, writers, colorists, letterer. That's all that's left for us. So we're basically running an entire business on a fraction of the price that you pay for your comics and graphic novels. So that creates a problem. And the problem is that if you sell 100,000, how many do you have to print for that? Printer's not cheap. And when you're printing those numbers, you cannot print abroad. You have to print close, usually in Canada, because it's closer, and they usually have prices that are and they're like structured in a way that they can provide the right product for the American market. So yeah, when you're like, but how much do you make per comic? Almost nothing. So of course, when you're Skybound, which is now a very large company, an issue of a comic can be a loss leader. And then they're going to make their money back on other things, like trade paperbacks, like variants, like their web store, like signed copies. There are many ways to make their money back. But for the rest of us, numbers don't really matter, because we don't have the marketing power to sell 100,000 copies. We can't just show up and say, hey, we're going to give you free copies. Even Vault has like, I'm very curious about their strategy, and I want to know how it unfolds in the future and what it actually entitles. Because honestly, what's the point when you are, and especially with creator-owned comics? I mean, Skybound is doing company-owned comics or licensed comics. That means that mainly the creators are going to be paid with a page rate, and they will not have access to any or very little royalties on the sales. But when you're doing a creator-owned and your first issue is given away for free to retailers who then are going to sell it, that means that the publisher makes no money and has costs. But then the creators make no money either, because with creator-owned, they're usually paid on the back end. So what's the point? And this is like an honest question. Like, if I'm putting myself in my creator shoes, what's the point in actually doing it like this way? I'm having this message that the bandwidth is really low. I hope that people can still see what I'm producing. If not, I mean, the show will be on my page, so you can catch up afterwards. But yeah, it is really interesting how these numbers don't really matter when it comes to being an independent creator or an independent publisher or a small publisher, and trying to actually make it happen. You need money. That that goes without saying. You need money to survive. You need money, and so you need to get that money from sales. So if those comics don't make money, but they have huge numbers, or you get into debt because you think that based on marketing and on attrition, yes, you're going to sell 100,000 copies of the first issue, but then who knows? Maybe the second issue you're going to sell 75. Maybe you're going to sell 50,000, and it's still 50,000 that are going to be paid, and it's better than what you had. That's a huge risk, because what about issue 2? What about issue 3? What about issue 4? The actual numbers and the direct market are not big. They're not big. They're not comfortable. Retailers are struggling. It is really problematic. And I understand that the temptation is high to try to shake up the tree and say, hey, we're going to try something new, but at what cost? So it's a mystery to me, and I really want to have that answer. And I wish everyone well. Like, we need, I've said that multiple times, we need big publishers, mid-sized publishers, small publishers. We need everyone to thrive. We're a very dysfunctional family, but we need everyone to make money, because if my competition makes money, that means that I have a chance to make money. If they don't, if the bigger companies are not making money, there's zero chances that I'm going to make money. So at least it multiplies the chances, and like, it kind of opens everyone's appetite with comics and graphic novels. Anyhow, that was my rant, or not really a rant, but like, let's say, like, my questions about these numbers and announcements that we just had this week. Let me move to the second topic. The second topic is about these 2 conventions that I recently did. One was Twin Cities Con in Minneapolis, and the other one was JewCE, the Jewish Comics Experience, here in New York. I have to say that it's been a very interesting year for conventions for me, because when I hit the Los Angeles Comic Con next week, it will be my 30th convention this year. Like, I think it's a record. I've never been to that many cons. It means that it's almost like every other week I'm somewhere else attending a convention. That means that I had to think about it long and hard to know how I would react to Twin Cities Con, which happened at the early days, the first weekend of November. And it's a con that is growing, and they're trying to build it up. I also kind of invited myself, which is really interesting. I kind of invited myself to the con, and it was like, okay, I want to come to the convention. Would you have me? And they were like, well, we already spent our budget, but if you want a table, we can find a table for you. And I thought I was already generous, and I have to, like, give it to Ben Penrod, Katie Schubert, and their team. They were really welcoming. Like, we came to this con, Crystal and myself. We came to this con. We had no expectations. Some things went okay. Some things went weird. A lot of people didn't know us, never heard of our books, and so we had to kind of like start over. And I have to say, I'm overall pleasantly surprised, and I'm kind of satisfied of what we found in Minneapolis. Yes, like I noticed in the last 3 or 4 months, there's been a lot of window shopping at conventions, which is never it's never pleasant when you're an independent publisher and a creator, because you have to face the fact that people are here just to look and they're not going to buy it. And when you come from another town, in this case, we're coming from New York. If you come from another town, it's kind of frustrating because you spend all that money to be there, and people are just going to look at your stuff and they're not going to end up buying. But that's the name of the game. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And as a matter of fact, in Minneapolis, we didn't lose money, but we left the town without really making a significant amount of money, which which was disappointing. So yes, in a way we were disappointed, and we had to fight for every customer because it was like you need to get everybody interested, you need to get people on board and like explain the books and like which is what we do, and there's no problem with that. But it's still very a very exhausting process. On the other hand, I had a panel that I didn't expect anything from, with Brian Tillman, who was on the panel with me, and like I was expecting to have a moderator, but then no one showed up. And it was just Brian and myself, and we had a lot of fun, and it was pretty fairly attended, pretty well attended. So it was like, okay, this was like a high moment, like this panel. I also was seated next to Jamal Igle, who I appreciate immensely. He's a great creator and a good friend. So we talked a lot about the industry, the business. The good thing about Jamal is that even when you disagree, you end up agreeing on stuff. So that's fine. It's really perfect. It's really perfect. Um, and I also sold a few pieces of art. Did a couple of commissions, which I hadn't done in a while. I want to touch a little bit about that later today. It is, let's say that it's a convention that we can see improving. I definitely want to come back. I really feel that there's something there where we can build up from. And I remember when we started touring as Fair Square Comics, I think the first convention we went to was Emerald City in Seattle. And the first year, people were like, well, we don't really know who you are and like, what are you doing? And then by the third time we were hitting the convention, we had a fan base there. So people are now coming back at Emerald City and like, okay, what's new this year? What do you have that we didn't have last year? And it's actually, I think, what we can build up with Minneapolis. So that's an interesting part, and I hope that we can come back. And as my T-shirt proves it, I mean, yes, I'm a Prince fan. Everybody who knows me knows that this T-shirt was actually designed by my friend Uko Smith. Uko is a wonderful creator, and he gifted me with this T-shirt because he's as much a Prince fan as I am. And so I think last week I had my Paisley Park T-shirt, and this week I have this one. It's probably an unconscious choice, and I'm just thinking about it. But yeah, this, like, I'm showing my colors. I'm a Prince fan. Shout out to everyone who loves Prince, understands and appreciates the music and the entrepreneurship of Prince. Because like that's what I say. Prince didn't just like feed us with music. He also fed us with a lot of lessons in marketing, in how to communicate with your fan base, and entrepreneurship. And he's been a visionary on so many levels. So I'm really glad that I was like influenced by Prince on so many levels since I was 14 years old. It's interesting. It's really interesting. Um, and yes, and I wanted to also to quickly talk about JewCE. JewCE has a special place in my heart because, well, first, it's the only Jewish themed convention that exists, to my knowledge, in the world. And I co-created that with Dr. Miriam Mora at the Center of Jewish History. So it's a convention that, being the co-creator of, it felt a little different. But I have to say there was a lot of apprehension. There was a lot of fear that, especially with the situation everywhere in the world, we would have like security issues, or we would have like some kind of threat. It did not happen. People showed up. They showed up like there was a lot of people. There were over 400 people that showed up for a small space like this. It's really a success for this first edition. That's for sure. And we had like 30 creators that were either Jewish or that were not Jewish, but had something Jewish in their body of work. It was inclusive. We had people from all walks of life, all colors, all genders. It was really cool, and I did not spend a lot of time at my table, but I spent a lot of time talking to people, whether it's peers, creators, or fans, or just simply people who had never read a comic book or a graphic novel their entire life, and they were like, "Okay, this is an opportunity. Where do I start?" And actually, that's the beauty of those conventions, is that you see fans who are, I mean, people who are showing up with like, "This looks interesting. I never cared much about comics, but now you're showing me something that could potentially interest me. So where do I start?" And I'm really glad that we could do it with JewCE. I have actually a meeting very soon to see where we take the convention next, and I'm very excited. We'll announce in time, but I'm very excited about what we can do with JewCE next year and the years after. So that's for another day, folks. But yeah, very interesting. Which leads me to another topic that is interesting, which is the kind of like duality, or kind of like fight in my body and my brain between the publisher and the creator. Um, and I would love to talk about this with other creators that are also publishers. We're not that many, but if you're another creator that is also a publisher, I would love to hear from you, and maybe we could start a club or something. But it's really interesting that especially when I go to conventions, the more I introduce myself as a publisher, the less people see me as a creator. Except when like they discover that, oh, I wrote or drew something that is on the table, like, oh, can you sign that for me? But I'm kind of struggling with that. I have a hard time like saying, okay, I'm not gonna abandon, I'm not gonna give up drawing at conventions, because it's my happy place. But at the same time, I can see that I'm selling less and less commissions at conventions. I still sell them when I'm home at my studio. People reach out, and then we can organize the shipping, which is more comfortable than anything. But I still like to draw at shows, and I still like to do something else than just pitching books to people. But for some reason, like there's an appetite for the books, even the books by Fabrice Sapolsky, and there's less of an appetite for the art that Fabrice Sapolsky produces. At JewCE, we had the luxury of having two tables, one for the publisher and one for me. But as I said, I didn't like spend a lot of time at my table, so I sold a piece of art, actually a Prince piece of art, but it was not a lot compared to what I could have sold somewhere else. So it's really weird. But at the same time, I want to keep drawing. I'm drawing actually more and more every day. I just wrap up designs for a new story that will be published next year, with an amazing writer. He knows who he is, and I appreciate him very much. But I did the design, and another artist is going to draw the actual story, because I don't really have the time. But then tomorrow, Saturday, 25th, I'm going to take part in the 24-hour comic challenge at Anyone Comics, which is a store that I absolutely adore. That is in danger um, of closing down. So if you have a chance and you're in New York, please come and support Anyone Comics. It's 1216 Union Street, Brooklyn, New York. It's in the area of Crown Heights. The subway stop is North Strand Avenue, I think. I think it's the closest, or President Street. I think it's President Street on the 5, and Nostrand Avenue on the 2 and 3, or 2 and 4, or 3 and 4. I mean, I'm always like, I lived there for 2 years, but like, it's just like, I forgot. But it's 1216 Union Street, Brooklyn, Crown Heights. And I hope you guys show up. I know there will be other artists, and I'm very, very happy that we'll like take on this challenge of trying to produce a whole comic in a day. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm going there like with an open mind. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to sustain all this time, because like, yeah, a sleepless night. No, I can't do that at my age. But it's going to be interesting, and I hope people show up. Excellent segue for what's coming up. And next week, I'm going to be at the Los Angeles Comic Con. I'm excited because it will be my first time in California in a year, since we moved out of California and came back to New York. I'll be at Los Angeles Comic Con, where I will see all my local LA friends. I'm very happy to see. I'll be at table J27. I hope it's well placed, because I come from far away. I come from far away, and they didn't pay for my ticket, so it's just, I need to break even. So we're going to have a lot of books. I'm going to show that to you in a second. We're going to have a lot of books, and of course, I'll take commissions. I'll sell my art. And we'll pitch all the new cool books that Fair Square Comics has been publishing. Can you believe we published like 17 books in 2023? That's a lot of books. It's a lot of book for a small publisher. There's basically just me and a little bit of Crystal. So yeah, I'm pretty psyched about it. So what can you expect at the table? Let me show you, because there's a lot of books. There's a lot of books. Okay, first and foremost, Little Rock Files. Little Rock Files just came out. It came out in stores. The people who participated in the Kickstarter in the spring must have had their copies by now. And if they don't, just contact me and I'll give you the tracking number if you don't have it, because I spent a lot of time. Putting these in envelopes and sending it to people. So yeah, you have multiple covers. This is cover A. It's a book by Greg Burnham, written by Greg Burnham, with art by Quinn McGowan and Marcus Williams. Cover A is Quinn. It's the most popular cover so far. Cover B is by Marcus Williams, and Marcus is a genius. Like, here's Marcus Williams' cover. Cover C is by superstar Edwin Galman, Eagle. It's like just brilliant cover, very noir. I love it. And cover A, B, and C are available in stores and on the Fair Square Comic web store, and it was also part of the Kickstarter. But you also have other covers like this one, which is the Fabrice Sapolsky cover. Haha. And it's a cover that I designed an homage to the Ebony magazine. Ebony magazine had a wonderful cover in the 1960s with Sammy Davis Jr. on it, and I just took the pose that Sammy Davis Jr. had and mimicked the design, and I put it in the Owsley / Little Rock Files universe. It's very limited covers. Like, I think we only have like 100 of them. So it's really limited. So if you want it, this is only available at the store, the web store, the Fair Square Comic web store, or at conventions. And of course, I'll sign them. And if Greg is at any convention or Quinn is at every convention, they will sign it for you too. Another book that will come out December 5th, so very, very, very soon, but we already have, it's a book called Terra Antarctica, which is one of the latest books in our partnership with Alien Books. Alien Books is this company originated in Argentina. They've been partnering with us since the beginning of the year, and in 2024 they are spreading their wings and they are going solo. But we're very proud of what we did with them, and we're still very much friends. We're talking a lot. Another shout out to Danny and Corey, who are doing the cons for them. Love these guys, and Matthias and Martin, who are working, who are actually the living heart of Valiant Books. So Terra Antarctica, it's a what they call the Western manga. It really is really good. It's very noir. There's a monster. There's a like, investigation. It's like it really is good. Really is good. Like I wish people could discover this book. Is really, I really like it. It's only $16.99 and it comes out December 5th in store, but we will have it at the show in LA next week. Another one that is coming out next month in store, and we may have, is Sunshine Patriots, which is a book by the legendary Howard Chaykin. Howard has partnered with Alien Books, and through our partnership with Alien Books, it was distributed by us. So Sunshine Patriots, it's Howard Chaykin at his best. Like I'm gonna leave it at that. It's like you have to experience it. I mean, I can show you pages, but yeah, it's pure Howard Chaykin. Love it. Not a New York Love Story is another book that we published recently at Fair Square Comics. It's from my friend Julian Village and Andres Gefe, who is a Swiss-based artist. And Julian is originally from Germany, but he's been living in New York for the past 20 plus years. Another book we're very proud of, we call it The Sixth Sense meets Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. And when you say people, like, it's like, when we say that to people, it's like they have to pause for a second to imagine what it could be. And then they look at it, and this beautiful art here that renders New York in such a unique way. It's really, this book is a gem. So I hope that you'll get invested in trying to snag a copy. Not a New York Love Story. It's already on sale, and we'll be at the table. The Utopia Legends is also one of the best-selling books at the company, at least at shows. Unfortunately, some retailers have not really ordered it for some reason. We did the issues, and the issues worked really well, and but then the trade, for some reason, your local comic book store did not really partake. But every time we go to a show, we're selling a lot of copies. So you can actually find it at our table, Beyond Utopia Legends. It's from Brian Valenza and Henry Barajas. Henry Barajas is going to be at the show. It's going to be at Los Angeles Comic Con. So please come. He'll sign a copy for you. And I know he's very proud of it. And last but not least, Hyphen. Hyphen is a comic book that I already talked about in previous videos. Hyphen is it's a prelude. It's a 24-page prelude of an anthology that Fair Square Comics is going to release in 2024, and it's basically slice of life. So it's real people that have been interviewed and had their stories turned into comics. And all the characters in this book are Jewish. You have a Jewish trans person, you have a Jewish Asian person, and you have a Jewish Black person. And all these three people have unique stories, and they are the root of what Hyphen is going to be. And we call it like Jewish stories in our own words. And you're going to see a lot of diversity and a lot of different shades of being Jewish that you've never seen before. I'm extremely proud of that book. I also drew the cover. So it's a project that I've been invested in a very, very long time. And again, my good friend Julian Village, I was talking about him. Julian is co-editing this with me, and his organization, Behor Lashon, that he is the director of, is completely invested in our little project. So Hyphen, it's not on sale anywhere yet. It's only available. It wasn't available at JewCE, and you can still get this booklet from the Center of Jewish History. But we have copies of our own, and we're going to sell them at the shows everywhere in America where we're going. Hyphen, I hope you enjoyed this, and it's again a book that we're very proud of. All right. How many times? 35 minutes already. Damn, incredible. A little bit of information about where you can catch us next. So I said Los Angeles Comic Con. This is the next con that we're doing. I talked about the 24-hour comic tomorrow. That is at Anyone Comics in Brooklyn. And in 2024, already have the first 4 dates where you can catch me, which is Fan Expo New Orleans. It's going to be early January 4th, 5th, January 5th to January 7th. Then you can catch me at MegaCon, it's Fan Expo, but MegaCon in Orlando at the end of February, at Happy Valley Con, which is February 24th, 25th. It's in PA, and at Emerald City Comic Con, which is going to be late February, early March, in Seattle. So these are the first 4 that I can confirm. Fan Expo New Orleans, MegaCon Orlando at January, early February, Happy Valley Con the 3rd weekend of February, and Emerald City Comic Con last weekend of February, early March. On top of that, I have this big travel planned. I'm going to my home country, France, in January to attend the Angoulême Festival of Comics. And I have this kind of like weird relationship with Angoulême, which is a place where I have some good memories, but I have also a lot of very bitter memories from the early days of when I started in this industry. And everyone there didn't really enjoy American comics, and I was all about American comics. I never wrote French comics. But times are changing, and this time I'm going there as a VIP. So we'll see what happens. I may do a video from Angoulême. That would be fun. Actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a video from Angoulême. I think people will enjoy this because not a lot of people. I mean, I know that some professionals, some publishers are going there, American publishers are going there, but there's not a lot of Americans that are going there. So I may share my experience of being in Angoulême when I'm there. Okay, let's move to the art sale because we are Black Friday. And even though I would love to do anything else but talking about shopping, a creator's got to eat, right? So here it is again. So after last week, I sold a couple of pieces, but I still have those pieces that are available. So if you want any of this, well, don't hesitate to reach out, DM me in any capacity you want, and I'll gladly send you. It's free shipping in the United States, as I said, and it will leave my home today. So don't hesitate to contact me. So first one today is this Spawn piece, which is a 9x12 Spawn piece that is based on Web of Spider-Man #1. The original cover was from Charles Best, and this is Todd McFarlane's character, Spawn. So if you like Spawn, it's watercolored, it's 9x12, and originally I was selling it for $150, and now it goes for $90. This character, Space Sheriff Gavin, it's a character from Japan. It's a character from my childhood. Originally, I was selling it for $80, but I'm selling it for $50. This character, like, it's part of the, I don't know if it's part of the Kamen Rider. I don't think so, actually. But it's like this kind of like super justice characters stopping aliens. Like, it was a live action show, Space Sheriff Gavin, from the 80s. That's where I grew up. This one is a Spirit of the Earth from the Intertwined series. Those who don't know the Intertwine series, Intertwine is a series that I co-created with Fred Pham Chuang, sorry. And Fred did these beautiful designs, but I'm drawing them. And here, this piece, it was originally 80, and it goes also for $50 for the Spirit of the Earth, with Kung Fu and Mushuk. If you like the series, this is your chance. Invincible. This is like battle damaged Invincible, like getting punched in this piece that I drew very recently, actually. And I was selling this piece for $100, and now it goes for $70. Invincible, punched Invincible. I don't know how we call it. Punch Invincible. So yeah, that's what I am selling it for right now. This piece is Red Monica from Battle Chasers. If you're nostalgic of the 90s, of when Joe Madureira was a hot property in comics, and Battle Chasers was the series that everyone was waiting for. Nostalgia for the 90s, Red Monica. It was originally for $100, and it goes for $50. This is Photonic, Man of Light. Photonic is a series from my childhood again, and Fair Square Comics published a graphic novel since late September. I think it's on sale. It's a beautiful moving story of this hunchback who gets superpowers. There's a lot of Stan Lee there, some Gil Kane, some Jack Kirby, some like everything, like all these influences come alive in this very emotional series called Photonic, Man of Light. And this is one of the drawings of the character that I did a little bit earlier this year. If you want it, it was originally for $80, and it is now $50. Oh, here's one that people know. This is Shuri, Black Panther. This Black Panther piece I was selling for $100. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory at this point. I don't need to remind everyone who Black Panther is. So this piece I was selling for $100, and now it goes for $70. It's a really beautiful piece. I don't know why it's still here. I hope it's not because people don't like Shuri. It's a great character. Here's one of the latest pieces that I drew, Rom Space Knight, and I'm going to go closer. Like I put some screen tones on it, so it's watercolor with a little bit of markers and screen tones, and I was going to sell it for $125, and it goes for $90 for Rom Space Knight. Come on, Ramis. Like, I don't know if Rams fans are called Ramis, but I'm going to call them Ramis. Come, Ramis. Take advantage of the fact that this is going to be republished by Marvel in early 2024. You want to take advantage of that. Rom Space Knight, one of my favorite characters at Marvel. I mean, Hasbro, but Marvel. You know what I'm talking about. And here is another character from my Intertwined series. It's the Spirit of Water, the last Jewish daughter of Kaifeng herself. In the book of the same name, you have this character, the last Jewish daughter of Kaifeng. She has her own book. The book is published by Fair Square Comics. It's sold out in stores, but we still have copies. We still have copies at Fair Square Comics, so we're still selling them. We're selling them at shows. And I drew her. And again, here's a brilliant design from Fred Pham Chuang. I really love this character, and I love this series, and I hope you too, because again, sold out, so we must be doing something right here. What else do I have? We have the 11 by 17, starting with Storm and her enemies. Yeah, the Sentinels are not really her friends. Originally, this piece was going for $200, but it's now going for $150. It's pretty good. And I'm not saying that because I drew that. I'm saying that because, like, I really enjoyed this piece. So if you like Storm, especially like this version of Storm, like the Punk Storm, This is your chance. 11 by 17, $150. It's a steal. Another black characters, Black Panther, the male version this time, the original, the OG. This one was going for $300, and again, it goes for $150, 50% off. Good deal, guys. And the last one of the day is a Spider-Man Noir, a character that I know very well because I co-created it. Spider-Man Noir, it originally went for $400. Yeah, I know, my bread and butter. But I'm now leaving it for $250. So $250. Spider-Man Noir. If you like Spider-Man Noir, it's unique. Only one of it. And it's one of the very last times that I'm drawing Spider-Man Noir. All right. I've been pretty long, 45 minutes. Let me finish with one thing that is also an opportunity for you, is the discount code. So if we are Friday, November 24th, it's 1:46 p.m. here in New York, EST. And from now until Monday at 11:59 p.m., you can use the code BFF24 and get free shipping on all the books at Fair Square Comics. So BFF24, free shipping. You hear it first. Then I hope you guys order and make us a very happy publisher and make me a very happy entrepreneur. Thank you very much for watching, even though you were not many today, but maybe you'll catch up later. And I hope to see you again, not next week, but the week after. And I'll debrief the LA Comic Con, and I probably have more news for you. Ciao, ciao. Take care. Thanks for watching.